Teo should throw a monkey wrench in those plans and make sure he's keeping his chin behind his front knee, making sure he's keeping his lead hand up, especially going against a southpaw, because like I said, his lead hand down makes him closer to Shakur's jab. So we'll see. These things is easier said than done inside the ring, but like I said, it's a great fight and I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there.
Not getting greedy inside the ring with him, not losing focus, not letting him get into his game plan when it comes to invite you, because there's no option. There's either you fight his game or you fight no game, because we see him with Dos Santos, he didn't try to put the pressure on him, and it was an extremely somewhat boring fight because neither or was trying to set the tone inside the ring. So if you're gonna set the tone with someone with Shakur, you better have a game plan, because the guy he's gonna be patient. He's not gonna get off his game plan to fall into your trap. So if I'm Teofimo Lopez coach, I would tell him not to lose focus, not to get frustrated inside the ring. Stick to your game plan, whatever game plan it is. If it's A, B, C, whatever it is, stick to it and go for it. But someone like Shakur Stevenson, like I said, it's easier said than done with a fighter like that.
Times that Shakur is putting himself against the ropes, this is the time that Teofimo is going to have to depend on his explosiveness. He's going to have to depend on his offset lead right hands. He's going to have, but even doing that, everything with Teo comes off his front foot, his explosiveness, his speed, everything. So it's almost like whenever the times he gets Shakur up against the rope, he got to pick his shots well, but then after that, he have to be ready to defend, because with Shakur, the return is always coming. So he got to go into the offensive lane, but he have to go into it with good defense, which in my opinion, he really don't do that good. When he's going into offense, he usually come in to an offense lane, like with his lead hand down, coming with head movement. But I just believe when you do get closer to Shakur, he's going to have to overload with work. He's going to have to really double up with one hand. He's going to have to use his feet, bust angles, things of that nature. So
one thing that happened to me was, I got frustrated in there with Shakur Stevenson. But like I said before, Teofimo Lopez is a completely different fighter. He actually thinks in the ring with his ring generalship, and he has a game plan. And whatever game plan it is, I would say stick to it. Because Shakur Stevenson, I don't think he's going to risk a lot with Teofimo. With someone with Teofimo who does carry a big punch.
Oscar Valdez and Malik Scott just broke down exactly how Teofimo Lopez can beat Shakur Stevenson and revealed the X factor both fighters need to claim victory. Former world title challenger Oscar Valdez steps onto Fight Hub TV with an in-depth breakdown of the highly anticipated Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson showdown set for January 31st at Madison Square Garden. Having shared the ring with Shakur, Valdez explains why Stevenson is one of the most frustrating fighters to face, how his patience becomes a weapon, and the mistakes Teofimo must avoid. From ring IQ and defense to reach, power, and subtle chess match adjustments, Valdez dissects the key factors that could decide this fight.
No, he's a defensive fighter. I mean, that's always been said from all culture. When you fight guys that fight on the back foot or they run, get them to the body. But it's one of those things, again, where it's easier said than done. Hit the body. Yeah, of course, certain people have the knockout power, but you got to hit them first. And Shakur Stevenson, the way he's positioned, the way his back foot's there, and then you see him comfortable, and he's all right, this is my shot, and you throw it, he just rocks back, or he has that back foot, just steps back, and he has a long reach, so he just counter punches you. And that's part of the game. You get hit and not get hit, and Shakur Stevenson does it to the T. He perfected that since he was an amateur and Olympian, silver medalist, and now he's done it as a professional. Maybe not the whole world enjoys it, but the pure boxing fan will maybe appreciate that.
Heading into the fight, Teofimo Lopez is widely seen as having the advantage in power and explosive footwork. Oscar Valdez believes that fighting with twitchy movement and effective back foot control could favor Teofimo early, but to truly beat Shakur Stevenson, Lopez must cut the distance and invest in damaging body shots. Valdez further breaks down the key attributes that separate Teofimo from the rest, explaining why he sees Lopez as the rare type of fighter capable of troubling and potentially defeating Shakur Stevenson.
The weight class, I think the advantages of Teofimo Lopez. the reach. We give him to Shakur. And what else?
Footwork.
But footwork. They both got good footwork. But the one thing that I think is going to be just the key is that everybody knows the
Ring IQ.
Ring IQ, but the defensive, being the defensive wise, I think no one beats Shakur on that one. So yeah, you might have all this right here, but you gotta hit the guy first. So that's where it becomes tricky. That's where it becomes tricky. Someone like Shakur Stevenson, where he's just an amazing defensive fighter.
In his breakdown, while offering advice to Teofimo Lopez, Oscar Valdez makes one thing clear: this will not be an easy hill for Teofimo to climb. Highlighting Shakur Stevenson's unique attributes and drawing sharp stylistic comparisons between the two, Valdez still believes Lopez can beat Shakur. At the same time, he stresses that Stevenson possesses a rare skill set few fighters have faced, and that only sustained pressure can disrupt Shakur's defensive style. His insight adds another deep layer to the strategic path Teofimo may need to follow to secure victory.
Like I said, you just ended up, but try to put the pressure like Camarón Cepeda did, and just wait for your shot to land good, and make that damage where he has no option. We all got tremendous fighters who box very well. You got Sugar Ray Leonard till Roberto Duran came, and he ended up catching him. You got Sweet Pete Pernell Whitaker. He was an amazing defensive fighter till Zurdo Ramirez came in and beat him, and other fighters. So everyone I think time will tell what type of fighter, but I would say a pressured fighter. Maybe someone like Pitbull. We know Pitbull has had some losses.
Meanwhile, revealing the X factor for both fighters, Malik Scott, a former heavyweight contender and sparring partner to the likes of Alexander Usyk and Joseph Parker, shares his exclusive insights. Drawing sharp similarities between Shakur Stevenson's jab and Usyk's, Scott warns that a tough challenge lies ahead for Teofimo Lopez. However, he also reveals the X factor Teofimo must rely on: unpredictability. In Scott's view, Lopez must strike first with unexpected shots, disrupting Shakur's rhythm before he can settle into his game plan.
The X factor for Shakur, to me, is distance, which he's very good at doing, especially with his feet. Him and Usyk, they both are very good.
Probing with the jab too,
yes,
right?
Probing with the jab, keeping the distance, making short steps going back. They really don't overcommit. And with Teo, I think it's going to be. I think like in Teo last fights, I don't know the last time we've seen a Teo big knockout how we used to see, especially since he moved up in the weight class. But I think this is a fight where he should go back to depending on that, not just going so powerful, but he should just pick his shots. He should punch a lot where Shakur is going to be at and not where he's at. He's going to have to cut off the ring. And to me, he really should work on not overcommitting, because overcommitting with the likes of Shakur, with the likes of Usyk, they make you pay when you overcommit. And I'm sure Shakur is dependent on that.
Laying out a possible path to victory for Teofimo Lopez, Malik Scott explains that Lopez's chances hinge on controlled aggression and explosive bursts while maintaining forward pressure. Building on the idea that timing will be decisive, Scott points to moments when Shakur Stevenson is pinned near the ropes as Teofimo's window to let his power go. Still, he cautions that any lapse in defense could be costly, as Shakur's sharp counters and rapid responses are among the best in the game, capable of shutting down mistakes instantly.
He has to get Shakur up. How would I say this? I don't want to just make it seem like come across as if Shakur is novice, but the times that Shakur is putting himself against the ropes, this is the time that Teofimo is going to have to depend on his explosiveness. He's going to have to depend on his offset lead right hands. He's going to have, but even doing that, everything with Teo comes off his front foot, his explosiveness, his speed, everything. So it's almost like whenever the times he gets Shakur up against the rope, he got to pick his shots well, but then after that, he have to be ready to defend, because with Shakur, the return is always coming. So he got to go into the offensive lane, but he have to go into it with good defense, which in my opinion, he really don't do that good when he's going into offense. He usually come in
Malik Scott believes Teofimo Lopez's best opening comes when Shakur Stevenson is backed up on the ropes, where Teofimo can fully unleash his explosiveness. However, Scott also sounds a warning, pointing out that Shakur is one of the best body punchers in the sport, drawing comparisons to legends like Pernell Whitaker and Floyd Mayweather. While Lopez will have moments, Scott maintains that Stevenson's skill set could make this fight look easier than many expect, reinforcing Shakur's edge and higher probability of victory.
Take the Cepeda fight, right?
Yeah.
But don't have Shakur as much in the corner. I think Shakur wins easily. I just don't trust Shakur on the ropes, stuck in the corner against Teo. Against other fighters, I could get why he would do that, but against Teo punch selection is a lot better than any fighter that Shakur has ever fought. His speed is a lot more rapid than, to me, any fighter Shakur has ever fought. And he's the best athlete Shakur has ever fought. And he's the most explosive fighter Shakur has ever fought. So he's in the fight, definitely. But if you ask me, I'm always going to go with the guy with the best defense, the guy with the best skills, the southpaw that has a little bit of height on him. Shakur don't have short arms, so he has a lot on his side.
Shakur Stevenson is often praised as one of boxing's sharpest technicians, but Teofimo Lopez presents a very different problem. Where Shakur operates with calm precision, sharp timing, and textbook fundamentals, Teofimo brings chaos, sudden movements, unconventional angles, and explosive surges that are difficult to read or anticipate. He doesn't follow patterns, he disrupts them, baiting opponents into errors. That unpredictability is why many observers believe Teofimo can seriously complicate Shakur's game plan, transforming what appears to be a clean matchup on paper into a far more hazardous fight than expected.
You got an ultimate skill fighter versus a boxer who's twitchy, and twitchy sometimes beats out skills. Sometimes that's the side that can really beat a straight up boxer to me, somebody who's twitchy. You know, because they don't fight, you know, as normally as most boxers fight. They give angles, body movements, bouncing around like a Lomachenko would done, even a Crawford does, you know what I'm saying, moves different angles and so forth. That's why they can beat a lot of boxers. A lot of people are rolling with Shakur, and I understand because he's dope. But I don't know who's going to show up what day. What Shakur showing up, or what Teo's going to show up. You get what I'm saying?
Nah, you know, we gonna all.
Shawn Porter, one of Shakur Stevenson's strongest advocates, has also sounded a clear warning ahead of this matchup. Porter believes that when Shakur is operating at his best, very few fighters can deal with him. However, he noted that in the Cepeda fight, Shakur relied too heavily on movement and, at times, stayed in the pocket longer than he needed to, absorbing avoidable shots. Against someone as explosive and unpredictable as Teofimo Lopez, Porter feels that margin for error disappears, as Teofimo's power and unconventional style pose a serious threat.
Shakur gonna always be Shakur. The offense that we saw from him in his last fight was just, he knew what he had in front of him, and eventually he knew that he was going to be in a position where he could have his way with the kid who was in the ring. I'm losing his name off the top of my head.
Right, I know you're talking about. But I believe he fought that way because he started hearing all the call of him running. He started saying, you know what, let me stay in the pocket, because he stood in the pocket a lot more than he normally stood in the pocket with that fight. You know what I'm saying?
It took some unnecessary shots.
Huh?
It took unnecessary shots.
Well, okay, right. But you see what kind of fan base he got after that too. The doubters started saying, you know what, I'm gonna roll with him more, because we were getting tired of him running and skillfully beating people. That gets boring.
Shawn Porter also highlights Teofimo Lopez's twitchy, explosive athleticism as the key reason he remains so unpredictable and dangerous for Shakur Stevenson. Porter breaks down how he expects the fight to play out, studying how Shakur may respond under pressure and what Teofimo is likely to bring into the ring. While Shakur's near-flawless defense continues to stand out, Porter suggests that Teofimo could have more ways to win this matchup, making the contrast in styles a major factor in how the fight unfolds.
The difference is when he turns it on, is he's delivered that power to a point where we actually sit back and we, all right, round after round, like, all right, he's losing these rounds. He knows he's losing these rounds, but let's just wait on it. And then eventually comes the big kaboom.
Well, that's what we want to see, man. We want to see kabooms.
Okay. Last thing I'm gonna say on this fight, though, I think there's more avenues to victory for Teofimo Lopez than there is for Shakur.
I agree.
Because Shakur is so set in who he is, and I absolutely love it straight up and down. But it's gonna be so hard to pull him out of who he is And the other side of that is Teofimo can go the defensive route. He can go to force you to at least walk towards me.
Analyzing Teofimo Lopez's game plan, Showbiz. The adult believes Lopez's speed and power allow him to weaponize feints, pushing Shakur Stevenson onto the back foot before attacking with sudden explosive bursts. Showbiz points out that Teofimo is at his best when he controls range, using his athleticism and sharp movement to trap opponents near the ropes and exploit moments of hesitation. In his view, Stevenson must remain fully alert, because overlooking this approach could prove dangerous once they meet in the ring.
Teofimo Lopez, the high IQ fighter he is, with the great experience he has and the skill set and the footwork and the athleticism, with his fast hands and dangerous power, he can feint Shakur Stevenson into backing up and shrinking his real estate, because Teofimo Lopez is going to want the fight to be closer than further. And that's precisely how he does that. With his hand speed and his power being something that Shakur Stevenson has to worry about, and with Shakur Stevenson being defensive-minded first, Teofimo Lopez can feint, and Shakur Stevenson is going to naturally take that full step to half step back, shrinking his real estate.
Adding another layer of insight, Gary Russell Jr. lays out the blueprint Teofimo Lopez must follow to claim victory. Russell explains that if Teofimo can consistently draw Shakur Stevenson forward only to meet him with sharp, precise counters, the judges will reward the cleaner, more effective combinations. He emphasizes that Lopez should focus on controlled aggression rather than chaos, echoing the disciplined approach Russell himself used to outbox Lomachenko. Executed properly, Russell believes Teofimo won't just compete, he'll turn his preparation and physical tools into a decisive advantage on fight night.
Physically, you're touching him more than he's touching you. The judges and shit pay attention to that. You know, he can push Shakur on the back foot and make Shakur fight defensively depending on his attacks. It has to be, like I say, he got to do it in spurts. Take them first half rounds. When he fought Lomachenko, if he fights Shakur the way that he fought Lomachenko, that would somewhat poke holes in Shakur's game as far as allowing him to dictate the ring, dictate the revenue of the ring. You know, he'd have to mash the gas, like I say, in spurts.
At the same time, Gary Russell Jr. delivers a pointed warning to Teofimo Lopez. Don't stay on the back foot. He urges Lopez to stay aggressive, taking the fight to Shakur Stevenson, because passivity would let Stevenson capitalize on his sharp combinations and superior ring IQ. Yet Russell also highlights Lopez's unique power and skill, tools that can hurt Stevenson in ways Shakur can't match. If executed properly, this edge could become a game-changing factor, swinging momentum in Lopez's favor and paving the way for a statement-making performance.
Make him want to be defensive, make him question when he punches. And another thing, he has the ability to hurt Shakur too. I don't believe Shakur has the ability to hurt him. You know, but Shakur could be a long motherfucking night too, because if Gordo goes out there, Teofimo Lopez goes out there, and he don't mash the gas and he want to sit on his back foot and wait and try to bullshit around, Shakur going pot shot his ass all the way through. It's going to be a long night. All 12 is going to be a long night.
Paulie Malignaggi has also shared his take, emphasizing just how tough this matchup really is. While he gives Shakur Stevenson a slight edge, he issues a crucial warning. Teofimo Lopez is at his most dangerous when opponents underestimate him, and the pressure is turned up.
Yeah, at first glance, I mean, this is Shakur Stevenson written all over, right? This is Shakur's coming out party. This is where Shakur lives up to the expectation, but there is a tricky element to this fight as well, because Teofimo Lopez always saves his best performances for the moment when you write him off, for the moment when you're ready to say, okay, he's gone too far, now he's going to lose. And his two career wins where he's been an underdog, I think most people were picking him to lose the Taylor fight. But more so than that, the Lomachenko fight, really most people were looking for him to lose that Lomachenko fight. And I think he's probably the only guy to have beaten Lomachenko legitimately, you know?
Malignaggi highlights that Teofimo Lopez tends to perform at his best when he's under pressure, with his back against the wall, whereas expectations of dominance can sometimes work against him. This, he says, makes the fight potentially far more competitive than most anticipate. While Stevenson has the tools to climb to the very top of the pound-for-pound list, Malignaggi warns that if anyone can challenge that ascent, Teofimo Lopez is the type of fighter who fits the bill.
Shakur is in his prime, and he's very, very good, and I think he's possibly, you know, the level of a fighter that could probably be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the sport if he would just have the right opponents in front of him to beat, because he would beat them. But this is the one guy where it's really, really tricky. It's the one guy that could really offset that is Teofimo, on the right night, of course. Shakur, I think, is a more consistent, better fighter. But Teofimo at his best, sometimes looks almost unbeatable, you know? So that's the only thing that gives you some tricky feelings about it. You feel like Shakur is ready to do this, and this is the moment, but Teofimo tends to be that guy who's the most dangerous in these moments, so it's tricky.
There you have it. Teofimo Lopez's power, unpredictability, and aggressive game plan could be the key to beating Shakur Stevenson, turning what looks like a tough fight into a real opportunity for an upset. But what do you think? Can Teofimo really take down Stevenson, or will Shakur's skill and defense prove too much? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if you enjoyed the breakdown, and don't forget to subscribe for more fight analysis, predictions, and insider insights straight to your feed.